Hey team, welcome back to another great episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today I am joined by Mr. Clayton Lind. He's the CEO of Atlas Media Group. Man, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for bringing me on.
This is going to be fun. You get the same opening question everybody gets. What does it mean for you to be intentional?
Uh, I am criminal at calling and texting people. It's one of my biggest flaws. I regularly have 60 to 100 unread text messages, um, about 30 voicemails, and 100 emails that I always need to respond to. And so for me, what does it mean to be intentional? It means going out of my way every single day to respond to those text messages. I'm not very good at that. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm criminal at it. But Friday afternoon, I sit down and I try to actually engage in longer conversations with things that might not be work related. They might be work related. But that like actual messaging, if you run a business, if you work in any sort of business environment, especially in the digital age, the messages and the emails are nonstop. It's constant communication these days. We don't live in an age where all you can do is talk to people on the phone. People can get a hold of you nonstop. And so for me, I have to turn off my phone a lot to focus and get things done and like that. So for me, being intentional, it's actually engaging in conversation more. It sounds like a very basic thing in this day and age, and some people are on top of always responding to messages and things like that. But for me, I think it also means a lot more to my team and people who know me when I can sit down and say, hey, instead of texting, let's have a phone call. Let me check in. And so it's a lot of taking the digital technology and actually using it intentionally. Or for me personally, I like to call. So it's one of those things like, hey, quick 5-minute call, just check in. How are things going? How are you doing? Keep it very, not service level, but keep it away from work. Just say, hey, how's life going? I think prioritizing human connection as much as possible for me is what it means to be intentional. And so whether that's responding to the text messages, or just making a quick phone call. So once again, super basic, but it's something that I know matters a lot. And I know I want to keep growing it and working on.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea of just simply saying going out of my way, right? Making time to go to make the extra phone call, to have the conversation, as opposed to just let it roll through the text and be another, back and forth. And there's a time and a place for both these days. I try to minimize my email as much as possible and run things through text message whenever possible. Personal preference. Some people do prefer email. I'm trying to try to be respectful of that. But man, like just being able to get on the phone and say and hammer it out, as opposed to, and in 5 minutes, as opposed to, man, I gotta book a call with this guy, right?
Yeah.
Having this conversation, it can probably be a 5-minute conversation with this person that I need to meet with, but I can't get on the calendar for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I think
kind of like just pick up the phone. Let's just do it right now.
I think to add on to that, I think creating some more unstructured conversation, especially in a world where you can get your days just booked full of meetings nonstop, like creating just some empty space, like, hey, we're just going to have a conversation. There's no priority behind it. It's just, laughing, having fun, joking around. We've been trying to do that as a team of like, hey, once a month or every other week, let's get together at 3 o'clock on a Friday and just sit and chat for 30, 40 minutes. Just, hey, we're just having fun. This is not a business meeting. There's nothing important that needs to get discussed here. It's just like, let's spend time together,
Yep, absolutely. All right, man. Well, tell us, Clayton, about Atlas Media Solutions. I think I said group at the onset, so I'll correct that now. But tell us about Atlas Media Solutions.
Atlas Media Solutions, we are a media marketing company specifically serving ag. We will only work in the ag industry. We turn away a lot of work outside of ag. We specialize heavily in social media and high quality video. There are plenty of marketing companies out there that do everything else really well. So we've chosen to say, hey, we want to be the company focusing on the next generation of media. And so for us, that's a lot of social media, helping produce podcasts, working with influencers, and just high quality video that stands out. In today's day and age, more now than ever, you have to be able to stand out on social media and stand out in your marketing in general. What was working 10 years ago does not work now. And so we've put a heavy emphasis on that. But the broader mission of what we do is to serve agriculture. The marketing is what pays the bills, our mission is not what pays the bills. Our mission is what we get up to do every day. And
Love
so
it.
we get up every single day to serve ag by helping tell ag stories. So that means I go out of my way on social media a lot to just share stories or share topics that I think are important for this industry to be talking about, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart.
Hmm.
And ag once again, more now than ever, needs to be sharing its story in light of everything going on in the broader world.
Right.
The silo that agriculture is in, we cannot stay in that silo. We have to be trying to actively break out of our own little bubble of the ag industry and reach the wider world. And so I put a lot of effort into that, because I know, being from California originally,
Hmm.
and not having any connection to our food system whatsoever, how much misinformation, how many things I believe that are just totally wrong about the industry. Um, I think it's a shame that the rest of the world gets to tell ag story and ag doesn't get to tell its own story. And so that's what I get up every day to do. Once again, the marketing company allows us to have the leverage to reach a lot of people,
Hmm.
because we do high quality video on social media. We can reach millions of people a year for the sake of agriculture. It's something that, we would love to reach 100 million people. We technically reached 100 million people in 2024. I'm sure a lot of that was repeat people, a lot of people who are in ag. So, we're going to keep pushing the boundaries of that, because we want the entire world to know where their food comes from. We want them to see the faces of the people who are growing their food every single day. And so that's the broader mission of what Atlas Media does.
Beautiful. I love it, man. And it's a noble mission and one that certainly is needed out there for sure. I want to walk this back from the beginning and find out how you got here. So you grew up in California, Truckee, California. I think if I read your bio correctly.
Yep.
You wound up in Iowa 5 years ago. You got into farming, agriculture. Was there a draw to Iowa to get into farming? Was this how'd you go from non-ag, did not had no connection to the food system, to where you're at now?
The best way I can describe it, um, is that COVID, I moved during 2020.
Yep.
So the world was chaos, lost my job, needed a new place to live. I had a trade background. So, I'd worked as a diesel mechanic, I'd done heavy equipment operation, things that are not directly farm related, but are
Sure.
very useful on a farm.
Yep.
Um, Ended up moving here in the middle of 2020. Um, I had never wanted to farm as a career, but I remember I watched a Cole the Corn Star video at one point, when I was still in California, and I just saw it and I was like, you know what? I think I want to try farming at some point. I think I would want to at least give it a shot. And
Sure.
6 months later, no connection at all to that video, but kind of just, it always been in the back of my head. I was like, the opportunity came up through a few connections to just help take a fence out on a guy's farm. Went up and did that for a day. It's pretty boring work. You pull a bunch of staples, you take a bunch of posts out, you roll up a bunch of wire. It's not rocket science. But it was great. I loved it. And then the next day, he asked if I could come back and fix some of his small engines for chemical pumps. And I was like, I could do that. And then the
Hmm.
next day, I got asked to change the oil on the sprayer. And then it just kept going and kept going. And before you knew it, I was working full time as a farmhand. And I didn't really like jump into it as like a job I applied. It just kind of happened.
Sure.
And every day on the farm after that was just like the world was flipped upside down. I was being told everything that corn was used in, soybeans were used in. We had a cattle herd. And so I was told, hey, here's what this part of the cow goes to, what this part of the cow goes to.
Hmm.
So it was Northeast Iowa. Uh, Corn and soybeans, obviously, we live in Iowa. That's what we do. But also, a lot of hay. There was a cow calf herd, and we all did it all the way up to a feedlot. So I got to see the whole cow calf process to the point when we ship it all the way to the locker. Just lots of it was a wonderful experience. So many cool things to do.
Cool.
And I mean, it's just, yeah, I look back and I'm like, my goodness, some days I'm like, why did I quit? I shouldn't have done that. I miss it so much. But I knew that someone needed to be telling the ag story, because if a young person who had Instagram and had Facebook and YouTube and all that, didn't really know anything about farming and where my food came from. I said,
Hmm.
okay, well, if I don't know anything about it, then there's a lot of other people who probably don't know about it either. So let's get out there and start sharing ag story.
Yeah.
So
So good, man. Well, I love the mission. I love how you guys are going about it, because it's, it's not just another marketing strategy. I'm sure maybe it can be part of a marketing strategy, but the work that you guys put out is phenomenal. I've been following you
Appreciate it.
along the last year or so on LinkedIn. I'm like, man, like, there's just looking at high quality video, telling the story, helping people make sense of it. And that's really, really good. Talk to me a little bit about, like, so what's working in social media these days? I know the landscape is constantly shifting, but like, what's working now? Let's go spring, first half of 2025. Like, what's working to get this story
That's
to
a
people?
that's a hard thing to say because by the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be different.
Right.
Um, as much as social media is a bunch of shifting trends, as much as it's a bunch of, hey, it's this thing, I do this quirk. Really, the principles I have always lived by is, first of all, I'm a post every day, not because it's gonna boost the algorithm or it's gonna do this thing, but that discipline and consistency does pay off over time.
Yeah.
For me, I've been posting on social media almost every day. I took a couple weeks off the past month, but mostly every single weekday for 3 years now. And I've across all my platforms over 50,000 followers, and most of those came in year three. A lot of that was not years one and two. And
Mm,
honestly, I thought about quitting for the first 2 years a lot because I'm like, oh, I'm not seeing the results I want. I'm not getting the impact I want. But that discipline and consistency over time starts to pay off because you start to learn the quirks and tips and tricks and things like that. But more importantly, you become a person in people's mind.
yeah.
Um, and I think that's where social media is headed and kind of been the more relevant thing for the past couple months is your story and who you are matters more now than ever. People want to connect with people. They want to
Hmm.
connect with a story. The reason influencers have such a presence in our marketing culture now is because all of us marketing companies have caught on. People don't really want to buy from companies anymore. They want to buy from people, which, as a podcast on agribusiness leaders, super applicable.
Yeah.
Ag, ag is relational. The rest of the world is very relational. People who follow me don't follow me just because of pretty videos and cool tractors. A lot of people do follow me for that, and I'll take ownership of that. But my core audience, which is a couple thousand people, they're not all buyers of what I do. They're not buyers of my product, but they're people who believe in my story and believe in what I do every day. And they have formed a connection with me and what I do, and they are invested in the story of what we are doing in my life and at Atlas Media. And so
Yeah.
they follow along, engaged with that because they hear the story. Um, and they want to be a part of that in some way. And the same thing applies to brands now. Brands are becoming very story focused. They're saying, hey, what's our story? How do we get started?
Right.
How are things going? And more or less, that's been the history of marketing for a long time. It's you can make the flashy ads, you can make it look pretty.
Yeah.
Sometimes the iPhone video that's super authentic is going to just absolutely kill the $100,000 production. We've like my most popular video I've ever posted on social media I filmed on my iPhone and I edited on Instagram. And we run a full blown production company where we spend tens of thousands of dollars on shoots. And you know what? Our best performing video that's ever come out has
Yeah.
been on an iPhone. And so it's like just remembering that it's because that authentic story is what matters.
Yeah.
So
All right, so this thing's gonna go out. It's gonna hit this interview will go out. It'll hit, I don't know, 5,000 email inboxes when we announce it. We'll get a good number of downloads, and let's say 20% of those people actually open it. They're going to have a chance to click through. Now, not all of them will click through. Let's say another 20% of those, so a couple 300 leaders from around ag, which is actually a pretty significant chunk of people, are going to listen to this message. And let's say they have to make and we can have a conversation right now about big brand versus individual influencer. and,
mm,
and and this is where I'm going at. Like, if I'm a company and I have agronomists out there, sales agronomists out there talking to farmers, as an example, or sales reps repping my ag tech firm,
mm,
or sales reps repping my biological company, and I want to get traction within the ag retail system. Pick your salesperson. If I'm the chief, or the chief marketing officer, or the chief sales officer, or the VP of agronomy, or whatever, for one of these companies, if I'm doing social, should I be focused on my business brand, or should I be investing in helping my individual people build individual brands attached
Mm.
to ours?
See, that's a tough question that I think a lot of companies are going to have to wrestle with. Um, the trend in 2024 for a lot of marketing was founder-led social media campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
So say you are the founder of a company and you are trying to do something, that founder carries a lot of weight online for that company. And so people get invested, like I said, in that story of what's happening. As far as individual reps go, I think, if you, first of all, number one thing, if you are committed to this company, great. Absolutely love it. Always be thinking about the long game. Don't be super selfish, but remember that, especially in ag, your customers will follow you from job to job to job. That is a very common thing, especially if you stay local. Your
Right.
customers are going to follow you if you jump co-ops, if you jump dealerships, whatever is going to happen. There are people who are going to call you because of who you are. And so
Mm-hmm.
building that personal brand is something that I think is very important for job security. I know because of my posting on social media that if tomorrow my company went under and I needed a job, I am going to be I'm going to be a great candidate because of my following online. I'm going to be great because people know who I am. People follow me on LinkedIn. Like I have that presence and automatically I'm top of the resume stack. Like
Mm-hmm.
that alone speaks volumes. That's a long-term investment that I now have for the rest of my career because I've invested my time in that and people know who I am.
Yep.
So there's that aspect. So I think any rep in general should be offering as much value as they can on social media. I know tons of people who sell. You know how many people sell product on Snapchat just because they've been
Yep.
on Snapchat their whole life or Twitter. You just know people in your area from all those places, and because they know who you are, they sell things. So from a rep perspective, an individual, build that personal brand,
Yep.
post consistently, offer value for your customers because that's going to follow you for the rest of your career.
Yep.
Now, from a company marketing perspective, I think there's a lot of really cool opportunity to be investing in personalities that, yes, they might not be with you forever, but they may bring in some sales at the time. So
Yep.
that's why influencer marketing is really big right now. I see, and this is my personal opinion. I don't have a ton of data to back this up. Long-term influencer partnerships are going to be a big deal in the next coming years. It's not going to be, oh, this influencer takes 20 deals throughout the year. It's like, no, they take two or three for multiple years with large companies,
Yep.
and they sign multi-year contracts for a larger sum of money, but because they want those influencers identified with this brand for a long time. So say Corteva, for example, Pioneer Seeds. Pioneer is going to want influencers who um, are going to be with them for multiple years and not switch to a Bayer brand or Bex or
Nobody,
whatever other
nobody wants to be
brands
the
that.
Verizon guy. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. You don't want to be jumping back and forth
Yeah.
between all these things. So,
Yeah. Gotcha. I appreciate you covering that. I know it's not on our list of like, hey, let's talk about these things today that I sent over, but as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking, well, these are things that I'm considering as a business owner, and we don't have a big old marketing budget. We're a small company, but we've got a little one, and
yep.
we're allocating probably $100,000 this year towards acquiring customers through marketing and social media and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. So right? I mean, that's for a small business, that's nothing to shake a stick at. And so I want to allocate those dollars for
Hmm.
maximum effect, right?
Yeah.
I need those things to, 10, 20, 30x from whatever we're putting in, right?
Hmm.
So, so that's good. And so then do we invest in individuals on our team, right, to get
Hmm.
them out? Do I have John Anderson promoting John Anderson? Do we have Mark promoting Mark and Christine? And then everything kind of filters in to one space. And I
Yeah.
think from the traditional, take like a traditional co-op as an example, it's very challenging in many ways for those brands to sort of release the control over the message all the time, and
Yep.
like allow individuals to really shine. Yet, I mean, I'll be straightforward. If they're hiring us to do training and coaching, if we're doing any sales training, like we are training those salespeople that at minimum they need to be establishing a Snapchat presence and connecting with going through their their contacts list and connecting with their growers on Snapchat, and then
Yep.
make sure that they're posting on the consistently posting pictures and videos of themselves out in the field doing agronomy things, if that's their
Hmm.
role, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
And it's a tough I mean, there's a lot of liability that comes with it. It's
mhm.
hard to stay out loud, but there is a lot of liability with it, and then we all have to acknowledge that. But that's okay. You know, you can take risks on things like that. And the space changes so quickly now. Like, especially with social media, things move on. People forget so quickly
Yeah,
too. Like, it's okay to like kind of, fire some bullets, and if things don't work out, okay, move on to the next thing. Like
yeah,
the try. I'll say this to close that section. Your story is what matters most. Story is going to sell time and time again for centuries. Stories have moved people to do certain things. Great speeches or great books, great movies, they move people. Same thing applies to marketing. Good stories move people. And so if you have a
absolutely.
good story and you do a good job of making sure people know what your story is, and you're not just out there to grab a few dollars here and there and move on to the next guy, like, you're going to build long-term relationships, and I'm all
Yeah,
about that. I'm all about, like, hey, I want clients working with us for 3 to 5 years minimum. Like,
right.
if we do something wrong,
Same.
it means we messed up if people don't want to work with us for that long, because we have a compelling story that we believe in. We want our customers to believe in that as well. And so
Yep.
when they believe in our story, they want to be a part of that just as much as we want to work with them. And so it goes a long way in the long run.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, very, very well stated. Very well stated. Let's just talk about building a business. I mean, you've gone from probably a one man show to you got a whole team of video folks, and I mean people out capturing footage, editing footage, putting this all together, helping to tell these stories. Um, what's really important to you, Clayton, about the culture that you're building right now?
What's important to me?
I mean,
It's
a
tough,
lot
and
of
we
people
we
talk about it, right? But very few are actually intentional about curating it. So I'm curious, like in your
yeah.
type of business, how do you do it? What's important for you?
So we grew from 2 people to 10 people last year. So huge growth, from especially because we are still a small team. There is a lot of, you know, culture building that has to happen, and culture shows up whether you want it to or not. So being intentional with your culture is uh, something that I feel like we were kind of on top of, but also we still feel so far behind in. Um, I think for us, one of our things is, like, one of our core values is we are human.
Mm,
We want our team to understand that they are human beings, and that you do not have to function like a machine day in and day out. Like, things happen, health problems happen, family members die, tough days at work happen. Now, there's a whole bunch of nuance that comes to each one of those situations that you have to tactfully approach. But I don't ever want one of our team members to feel guilty for the way they feel or the people they are, especially in this day and age. Like, long-term retention of talent is going to be a big deal. And so I want our employees to know that, hey, I expect a lot out of them. We work them hard. Our team works their butts off. Like, we have been shooting our butts off all spring, putting miles in on the truck,
mm,
flying all over the country. The only reason I think they're able to do that is because they know that, hey, I'm not a machine, and I know that my boss does care about my personal life. They do
mhm.
care how I feel. They do care that I am not just a slave to what I do every single day at the company. So I think for us, emphasizing we are going to work hard, we're going to work our butts off, but I don't expect you to just be machines. Like,
Yeah,
that's a disservice to the people who work with me. And so for us, understanding, hey, you work hard here, you're going to work hard. You're going to have 60, 80-hour weeks during the busy season. That's a part of the gig. But also understanding, hey, 2 weeks mandatory PTO for Christmas and New Year's, because no one in the corporate world's working anyways, so go take 2 weeks off, be with your family, relax, paid time off. That's a non-negotiable. You guys, everyone on the team has to take that, you know. So stuff like that, we give, if someone travels for a full week, they're away from their family. Take a day off the next week. You were gone the entire time. I know you worked more than 8 hours a day. Like, go
mhm.
spend a day recouping. Go watch a movie, take a nap, go grocery shopping, hang out with your spouse, like, whatever that's got to be, like, that's okay, because you're not a machine. You worked super
Right.
hard last week. You can rest a little.
So
So
good. So good. And I just love that you brought up the word core values. Like, hey, core values, we are human, and
Yeah.
that's an important piece to be building in. I love it. When so in your we talked a little bit about this off the camera, but what does ramping someone up from a talent acquisition to building that talent and wanting to keep them around? Obviously, you want to
Mm.
have people around as long as possible to maximize your investment in them. But what does that look like in the media landscape? I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with the agronomy world or feed sales or pick any aspect of agriculture, but you're kind of in this media landscape serving that space. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had a new editor start yesterday, so this is all fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, it takes, and experience ranges. We actually have a pretty young team. Like the average age of our team is mid 20s. Like we're
Mm.
not a super experienced old team, which in the media space is probably actually one of our biggest advantages because we have young people who
Right.
know what they're talking about. They're up with the trends. They know what's current. The caveat with that is there is a lot of training on the front end we have to do with a lot of our team. So for us, it's a lot of buddy system. Hey, for the
Mm.
first few months, you're going to be working with this one person a lot. Anytime you go out on a shoot or a project, you're with someone more experienced than you
Yep.
to train you and teach you. It means that we give you a pretty normal workload after about a month and a half. It means we're gonna have a lot more grace as you're getting up to speed with things. It takes time. There's a lot of little things that you have to do. There's 1,000 clicks that you have to do to complete one project. If you mess up 50 of them, totally understand because it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to learn. So just kind of that slow onboarding. I will not hire just for experience. The reason we have core values is to hire along with that. And I'll hire someone who's high in character, low in skill any day. If you are not the perfect video person, if you're not the perfect video editor, you know what? We can train you in all those skills. If you're an awful person to work with, you're not
Mhm.
coming on our team. And so for us, we'll spend a lot of time training. We'll spend a lot of time building people up. So after about 6 months, I fully expect anyone on our team to be hitting their KPIs, to be understanding that these are the expectations. And when you're dropping those,
Yep.
then it's going to be a lot more hard conversations. You had enough time. And that's a good opportunity for us to, as a young company, to learn, hey, we need to train better on this. Hey, we dropped the ball here on onboarding you there. So lots of little things like that. But it's a learning game. I wouldn't say we have anything figured out. So I
Yep.
try to just lead with lots of grace. Things happen. No one's perfect. We're going to mess things up. We're going to lose some money here and there. That's okay. It's a matter of, hey, how do we move forward from that is what's important. How do we correct what was wronged? Or, hey, how do we improve on something that we're just okay at?
Yeah. Good stuff, man. I like it. I like it a lot. You're moving in the right direction. Young team, young company. I mean, you guys are just in your kicking butt, taking names, making a big impact, which has got to feel really good for that group that you got working for you too, right?
Yeah, most days.
Yeah.
Spring when we're all traveling. I'm not supposed to be shooting anymore, and I'm going on a shoot tomorrow because we get busy, things happen,
Yep.
stuff like that. We all get a little worn out during busy season where it's like, okay, we've been on in planes and on hotels or whatever, vice versa, for
Yeah.
far too long. I need to just spend a week at home
Yeah.
relaxing. So,
No, I
but
get you. I mean, we have the same thing in our business too, which when we're doing the bulk of our training for the year happens January, February, March, and then we
yep,
have a slight peak in September, August, and September, right? And
yep,
I mean, we go hard. Like I just don't see my most familiar people as much during those time frames. I'm very communicative with them, like, hey, I'll see
mm,
you in April.
yep,
you know, and then
yeah,
and then we slow down a little bit, but it's like you have to you got to take your breath when you can get your breath right and recalibrate
yeah,
because then as soon as this season is over, as soon as everything is in the ground and planted, right, that's when we start picking up again and getting busy. So
yeah,
yeah,
nice.
okay. Talk to me a little bit about, I mean, just um, biggest challenge in building this thing or biggest challenge you've had to overcome.
Oh man, biggest challenge. That is a tough one. There's a lot of challenges. I feel like we're constantly facing an uphill battle in this industry because I'll say things people don't like sometimes online and people get mad at me for that. Or, we are sometimes trying to be so far ahead of the curve that the industry hasn't quite acknowledge they even need to be marketed. Like social media marketing, when I started 3 years ago, most people didn't care. They didn't want it. They said that's a waste of money. Now we're kind of at that point where people are catching on. It's people realize, oh, this is actually really important to what we're doing. We were way ahead of the curve on that. So the first 2 years, it was just convincing people, hey, this is actually an important part of your marketing strategy. I don't have to do as much convincing as I used to anymore, which is nice. I'd say the biggest hurdle, I mean, it might be a cop out, but cash flow, when you're a small business and you grow fast, oh my gosh, dude, like banks don't want to give you a line of credit. It's hard to convince anyone that they should come work on your team when you're like, yeah, I can pay you for like the next 3 weeks. After that, we'll figure it out, sort of thing. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just a constant when you grow that quickly. There's never enough cash in the bank to figure it out. And
Mm,
so we have bootstrapped our way here. We've made it. And it's still always probably going to be, if we're growing, hey, we're reinvesting a lot of cash in the business. We had a good year last year. We were profitable last year, but it didn't feel like it because by the time the year ended, it's like, okay, well, we bought 10 laptops. We had to spend $20,000 on camera gear, bought another work truck. There goes 40 grand, just like the money just disappears pretty quick when you're growing, and all
mhm.
things that, like, we're not frivolous either. Like, I'm very much like, let's run lean. But I'd say that's the biggest challenge, but also like one of the things I'm most proud of is like I, as the owner, was able to take a salary last year, and I am on a consistent payroll, which for a lot of business owners,
Good for you.
most people don't acknowledge that that's actually something that's important. I have a wife who doesn't work. I have to pay the bills. And so the fact that I am able to take a salary and our team also gets paid every week, like, doesn't
Mhm.
sound like a big feat, but we're a service-based business.
Yep.
I am not moving product through this business. I am moving people's time and hours through our business. And that's very cash intensive. Of just like, I got to pay people to get work done. And if we don't pay people, the work doesn't get done. So
Right.
I take a ton of pride in never miss a payroll, never going to miss a payroll.
Mhm.
So I try to take a lot of pride in that, but it's also been a constant argument with my bank of like, guys, like, come on, can't you see our cash flow? Can't you see we're healthy? Can you give us a larger line of credit so we can keep growing, things like that?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, I've had that. You have no idea how much I relate to everything that you just said.
yeah.
Over
That's
the last 15 years of building this thing up, I can completely relate. So
especially when you're all people based. Like, I have no assets to secure
yeah,
against. I'm not
exactly.
buying a tractor or a farm that I can go to the bank and say, you could take this if I, can't pay. It's like,
Correct.
no,
Correct.
it's just cash. Like, I have people that can go find another job tomorrow if they need to, and you can't take them. Like, this is not like one. So we've been actually looking at just buying some sort of office. We don't need an office. We're all remote, but we should probably just invest in some real estate to have some more assets on our balance sheet. So when we're having those conversations with the bank, it goes a little smoother.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good conversation for another time. I can walk down that path with you for a long time. So,
yeah.
what's been your biggest win?
Biggest win. Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know. There's so many different aspects. I feel it's hard because we're kind of in this like where I've put the brakes on growth a little so we can figure some things out,
Yep.
and so now we're discovering a lot more issues in terms of like just structure and systems and processes and all that, which causes frustration with everyone on the team because everything just changes every other week. But I'd say
Yep.
the biggest win is that I feel like we have hired really well. Like, there's
Mm,
no one on my team that I can like. There's no person on my team that if the opportunity came up, I would get rid of them and replace them with someone else. I'm like,
Yep.
no, like we've got our flaws, we've got our struggles, but man, like anytime I go to a trade show, all I can do is brag about how good my team is. People say, oh, your guys' work is so good. You do such good stuff. It looks so good on social media. I'm like, guys, I can't take any credit for that. Our team kills it. And so being able to brag about my team at literally 3 years into the business is something that I'm very proud of, and
Awesome.
something that I try to take a lot of pride in and give as much credit as I can to the people who have made it happen, which it's all been our team.
Good
So
stuff, man. Spoken like a great founder. All right. Book, audiobook, or podcast?
I read a lot, Mark. I read
Okay.
a
I
crap
love
ton.
it. I was, as
Um,
busy as you sound, I'm like, man, does he have time to read? Does he have time for other content?
oh man, there's so much good stuff. Two two authors that I could not do business without, and that I It occupies a large portion of my brain. Traction by Gino Wickman.
Mhm.
Um, any business looking to grow, looking to scale, looking to be intentional and get crap done, Traction, that book is the way to go. Read that book,
Yeah.
memorize it, read it again, read all the other supplemental resources. I've read all the other books so far now. They're all super helpful. Um, cannot recommend that enough. That system works. It gets crap done. The next one, I think it's really easy in the internet age to get so focused on hyper scaling or super profitability, raise a bunch of VC money, this, do this,
Mm.
blah, blah, blah. I care about the companies that have been around for 100 years because those are the ones that have figured something else out that most people haven't. So, Jim Collins, all
Mhm.
of his books, phenomenal business books. If you are in the industry of building a business, or you even want to just be a very valuable leader in an ag business or any business in general, Jim Collins has done 30 years of study on companies that have been through thick and thin and survived and adapted and have legendary reputations. So Good to Great, Built to Last. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a couple others. I've read three of them so far. Oh, Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0, great book. So all of that just really good to build, like solidifying your mind that business is more than money, and that the
Mhm.
reason these large businesses have survived is not just because they make money. So,
Right. Good stuff, man. Awesome. Great answers today. This is honestly even better than I thought it was going to be. There's some really significant gold in here, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk about the social media aspect and some of the things that I think leaders, intentional leaders, ought to be considering. And you
of
provided some really good insight on that. So thanks for doing it.
course, my pleasure.
Thanks for being on the show. How do we get a hold of you if we need some work done? Who's calling? How do we are we calling? Are we going to the website? What do you want to? Where do you want to send them?
We're rebranding a bunch of stuff right now, so the website's a mess. Would not recommend that right now. My email is Clayton at atlasmediagroup.us. I love to talk. If you ever just want to have a meeting, I am as much of a free resource as you can imagine. If you just want tips and tricks on social media, get a hold of me. You can call me. But LinkedIn and Instagram are where I spend my most time on social media. I try to get a post out a day. We just had a newborn, so I'm a little slow on that. I'm gonna not feel too guilty about
We're
that,
gonna let you
but
slide for another week on that newborn. Then you got to get whipped into shape.
oh, don't worry, I'm working on it. But yeah, I post there regularly. I really try to be an asset and a resource to not just marketing professionals, but more importantly, the industry at large. Ag has a lot of issues and problems it faces, and I try to be a voice and helping solve those issues in terms of at least
Mhm.
just generating conversation. Let's talk about the hard things. Let's get crap done. This industry feeds the entire world. We got stuff we got to talk about. We got problems we got to solve. So if you're interested in any of that, Instagram and LinkedIn, yeah, you'll find me. So Clayton Atlas is typically what you'll find me as. My last name is not Atlas, but Clayton Atlas on Instagram and Clayton Lind on LinkedIn.
Perfect. All right, check him out, guys. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Sweet. Appreciate it.